for Geometry Unit 1, and this is just going to be a review video. I'm literally standing here with a copy of the test in my hand, and I'm going to kind of give you the high points of things you should know for the test. Okay, so first off, you need to know point, line, and plane and be able to recognize that. So if I've got a situation where I've got a plane, and we'll call it plane A, remember we name it by the letter in the corner, and so I should have a line on the plane, call this X, call this W, and then maybe I've got a line going through the plane like that, call this A, we'll call this T, and then I can have just another point R right here. Okay, so you should be able to know those, and what I'm looking at is this. So I should be able to say, so if I said name a line with point T, you should tell me, well, that's line TX. Put the line above it like that. All right, and if I say, where does A intersect line X or line AT, you should be able to tell me, well, that's going to do it at point X. All right, you should be able to do that. So now, you should also remember a couple things like this. For any 2 points that exist, there is only one line that goes through both. Okay, there's not multiple lines that go through those 2 points. Through any 2 points, there is exactly one line. All right, so what else should you know? You should also know how to measure. All right, so if you're given a ruler, 1 inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, or if it's centimeters, something like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I say, what is that? You need to tell me that's going to be 1 3/8 inches. All right, you also need to remember the between this part. All right, so if I said X is between A and B, that means that all 3 of those are collinear. They're on the same line. All right, because you can't just say, well, technically this could be X or technically this could be X. No, that doesn't work. It has to be collinear. All right, and you've got to be able to solve that. All right, solve it. So if I gave you an equation, I said like AX 3X plus 4, BX is 2X minus 7, and this is 42. How would I solve that? Well, you'd have to say this plus this equals 42 and solve it. All right, you guys can do that. Distance formula is a big one. Distance formula, I will give it to you on the test, but you've got to be able to use that. So if I said, what's the distance between -2 and 2, and then 3 and -6, you got to figure out that distance. So it'll be 3 minus -2 squared plus -6 minus 2 squared. What's the square? Figure out what the square root of that is. So that's going to be 25. This will be positive 64. So together, that's going to be 89. So that would be my distance. You can give me the decimal. I don't care. If you left it as square root of 89, that would be fine too. All right, so we did distance, so you're also going to need to know midpoint. A lot of kids get these confused. I'm not sure why. Midpoint is just going to be x plus x divided by 2, y plus y divided by 2. So starting coordinate, so if I had 2 points, so say it's like 3, -5, and 6, -10. So something like that, you would have to figure out the midpoint. So I would take 3 plus 6 divided by 2, -5 plus a -10 divided by 2, So that's going to be 4.5. This is going to be -7.5. There's my midpoint. All right, the last piece of this, or the kind of the second half of this, was all about angles. Remember, an angle is two rays that share a common vertex, that share a common starting point. All right, so if this is, I don't want this to be B, I want this to be C. So one way to say this would be angle ABC. You could say CBA, or if this is the only angle around here, you can say angle B. So B would be the vertex of this angle. All right, and the sides are going to be two rays, so it's going to be ray BA and ray BC are the sides. All right, so when you've built on angles, there were a whole bunch of angles you need to remember. So acute, obtuse, complementary, supplementary, straight, and linear pair. Oh, vertical angles and linear pair. I forgot adjacent. So acute, less than 90. Obtuse, between 90 and 180. All right. Straight, straight is going to be an angle equal to 180 degrees. And then a right angle, can't believe I forgot that one, is equal to 90 degrees. Complementary is two angles that add up to 90. Supplementary, two angles that add up to 180. Vertical angles, simplest way I can draw that is if I have two intersecting lines, the lines kind of straight across from each other would be diagonal. So the top and bottom would be vertical, the left and right would be vertical. Adjacent just means shares a side. All right, so if I've got two angles that share a side, so I would say angle ABC is adjacent to angle CBD. All right, and the last one would be linear pair. Linear pair I'll do over here. Linear pair is kind of like adjacent, except it's just the two angles make a line. All right, so I've got X, Y, Z, W. So angle X, Y, Z and angle W, Y, Z are a linear pair. All right, beyond that, those are kind of the big ideas. But you do need to kind of figure out what's happening if I have a whole bunch of stuff that's just kind of intersecting. So if I have, let's just say I've just got random shapes kind of going in here. Let's say I've got a situation like that. So it kind of looks like a tent slash teepee slash weird thing. So this is 90. So let's say say this is, 40 or something like that. Well, this is 40. These two are a linear pair. That means this has to be 140. If I say this is like 72 vertical, that's also got to be 72. So this has got to be 140. This has got to be 40. If this one's 90, this one's 90. A triangle's got to add up to 180 degrees. So if that's 90, that's 40. Together they make 130. So that's got to be 52. So then here's one that'll confuse a lot of kids. If you look at this one, and this one, all three of those make a line together, don't they? So that means they have to add up to 180 degrees. All right, so I would use that fact to help me out. So this is 72. I said this was 50. This whole thing is line, so it's got to add up to 180. So I can use that to help me solve. All right, if you can do that, you should be fine for the Unit 1 test. If not, look over homework, look over notes, shoot me questions, and that's all I got. Thank you for playing.